Fox Sports.
We are Sports. We are Sports Zone.
It's another gorgeous night for baseball here in Baltimore's Inner Harbor, and we welcome you inside Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Tonight, Game 2 of our 3-game series between the Battling Birds and the Battling Bravos. Tough one last night for Atlanta. Lost 2-1 in extra innings. Georgia Tech star Matt Wieters broke our hearts. We'll see if the Braves can get even tonight. Hi again, friends. Joe and Chip, welcome back to the ballpark. Always fun to see the Orioles in interleague play. Hopefully Atlanta will have better luck tonight. And an interesting matchup in Game 2, Joe. Two pitchers start tonight whose seasons are really identical as far as their home and road splits are concerned.
Yeah, it's odd how things have turned for Julio Teheran. Great at home, not so good on the road. Ubaldo Jimenez, likewise, good at home, not good on the road. But Julio Teheran coming off a really good start, albeit a losing effort against the Los Angeles Dodgers at home. It was his first loss at Turner Field this year, but he struck out 11 guys. Nice pickoff, too. Julio's pitching a little better because he's been pitching more aggressively. He's cut down on his homers, and that's a big part of this. Take a look at the home-road splits. They're pretty ugly on the road, and while he has given up a bunch of home runs this year on the road, he's only given up 2 home runs total in his last 6 starts. Both of those were on the road in Milwaukee.
And we face an old friend in Ubaldo Jimenez, made history for the Colorado Rockies, once no-hit the Braves. This man was given a 4-year free agent contract by the Orioles, and at times brilliant, other times you wonder what were the Orioles thinking.
Yeah, it's like somebody said to me tonight, which Ubaldo will show up tonight? Well, the one that's been showing up hasn't been very good over his last 7 starts. He's had a horrible month of July, and his last 2 starts have been really ugly. But look at his splits again. He's 5-1 here in this ballpark, an outstanding ERA, and likewise, you cannot walk a lot of guys in this ballpark because it's small. He's only walked 7 here. That's an outstanding number.
Wouldn't know it's a small ballpark, as great as the pitching was last night. Unfortunately, the Orioles came out on top. Final score 2-1 in 11 innings. Again, the Braves try to even things up here in Baltimore. Should be a beautiful night for baseball. This is a great town. They are passionate about their Orioles. They're riding a modest winning streak here in Baltimore. We'll see if Atlanta can put an end to that as we come back with lineups and first pitch right after this. Brewers, and a drive deep toward right field. That ball is high. That ball is gone. Fly ball belted center field. Wieters has walked it off. It is game 2. Another big crowd here in Baltimore. Braves-Orioles baseball from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Ubaldo Jimenez is on mound taking his warm-ups. Nick Markakis will get another big cheer in his second game back here in his former home ballpark. He leads off the Braves Academy Sports and Outdoors lineup. Not surprisingly, Joe, as we talked about a moment ago, this team looking so badly for offensive help. You hit a home run, you got a chance to hit fourth, and that's what Adonis Garcia does tonight in game 2 of the series.
Indeed, boy, you go deep once or twice, go deep once is good enough, but back-to-back games, you are the cleanup guy today.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
And Ubaldo, he's either very, very good or he's very, very bad for the Orioles.
Yep, 7-6 on the year, 3.81 ERA. His July starts, however, that's not a drugstore or convenience store. That's his ERA, 7.11, 3.37 average against him. His last start against the Yankees, 2 1/3, 8 hits, 7 runs. And another standing O for number 22.
Very classy, and I'm sure very much appreciated by Nick Markakis. So Ubaldo Jimenez to work, and the first pitch is a base hit up the middle. Third hit of the series for Markakis. And some boos come from the crowd, but I think those are aimed at the pitcher, not Nick Markakis.
Now, what was it you said? You said Buck Showalter gave him 9 hits already. He said he's going to get 9 hits in 3 games. He's well on his way.
So first inning offense always appreciated, and as Joe mentioned, with these 2 starters, there's a good chance you might see some. One on, nobody out.
Ubaldo used to throw in the upper 90s. He's in the 90 to 93 range now. A lot of split finger pitches and a slider. 6'5", 210.
Cameron Maben is the Braves batter, and that's taken downstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. There was a time when Ubaldo Jimenez pitched in the National League. Many thought he was going to be the answer for the Colorado Rockies and the perpetual pitching problems that Colorado has at Coors Field. And this guy was awesome. I mean, really, really tough. His best year, 2010 there. He won 19 games while pitching for the Rockies. Of course, had the no-hitter against the Braves that year. Then he went to Cleveland, lost 17 games in 2012, won 13 games in 2013. And then he came to the Orioles, where they signed him to a 4-year free agent contract. The longest free agent contract given to a pitcher in Baltimore Oriole history.
And it was a high-risk situation. They were just hoping that they could somehow see his way back to the form that he exhibited in 2010.
That's out of play, foul.
And there are nights where he is that guy. But in July, he has not been what they hoped for.
And when you look at how the Orioles tumbled from first place to third in the American League East, those dreadful numbers Joe showed you are a part of that puzzle for Baltimore. 2 balls, 1 strike. And taken low. It's 3-1. Cameron had a hit last night. That base hit came in the 8th inning. He's had some chances, but just couldn't break through until the 9th. And strike fills it up. 3-2. Freddie Freeman is waiting next. Runner goes. A little tapper to the right side. Jimenez to the bag a little late, but in time to beat Maben. That was close.
There's a signal that Terry Pendleton gives Freddie Gonzalez if he thinks there's worthy of a look. Freddie's up on the top step waiting for word from the video room for Horacio Ramirez. Which foot hit first? Looked like Jimenez.
So no challenge. And Markakis at second for Freddie Freeman. Little by little, Freddie's starting to get his timing back. A couple of good cuts last night. Didn't have a hit. And struck out in 2 of his 5 at bats. Can't imagine how hard that is for any hitter, but certainly a guy as important to the Braves. You miss a month, you get 1 rehab game, and then you're back facing live pitching in the heat of a pennant race.
He was right smack dab in the middle of that video machine last night, too. And one of the things he noticed after the game, he was saying that
that ball's hammered towards center. Jones on the run, still going, not gonna get it. That ball is off the top of the fence. That should be a home run. Freeman on his way to third. Throw there is going to be late. For the moment, it's a triple. That ball looked like it hit right off the top of the fence and maybe left the ballpark.
it hit something so hard that it ricocheted a mile back into the playing field, and that doesn't happen off padding. And they're going to have a look. But one of the things Freddie said was his hands were casting away from his body. Here he does a nice job inside outing that high pitch, and see that railing right behind the padding? That's what it hit. When it hits a padded wall, it doesn't come off like that.
So this is a boundary call review. And we'll see what New York is able to find on the replay. At the very least, it's 1-0. Boy, was that a Freddie Freeman-like stroke. A long drive toward left center field. And it bounced right off the top of the fence.
Yeah, some of that backstop for the bullpen blocks some of your view, but you see the structure that holds up the padded wall. That's what it hit. That should be a home run.
If it is, it'll be Freddie Freeman's first homer since June 13th when he hit one off Jacob deGrom of the Mets.
And right in the area of the deepest part of this ballpark. But again, he was talking about how his hands were getting out away from his body last night. And I thought that was only natural, that you're trying to kind of help get your bat started because you've been away. He said tonight he was going to try to keep his hands inside.
So as I look at the ground rules here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, there's nothing that specifically talks about that metal piece that holds up the fence. This is a better angle.
Yeah, but see how hard it comes off?
Yeah.
You're not going to see that happen off a padded wall. It hit that steel framework.
And that steel framework is what protects the fans in left from both bullpens in case there's a wild pitch. So that is running almost parallel to the left field foul line.
No, it didn't hit there. It didn't hit that. It didn't hit the backstop. It hit the railing behind the padded wall above the State Farm insurance sign. Is
it the railing where it says on field right in front of that? Because I can't get my bearings as to what it hit.
Okay. Well, it is a home run.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't matter what it hit.
it hit that steel structure that holds up the padded wall. And the only reason that backstop came into play is that we couldn't see exactly where it hit because of the backstop. So that was a short try. Now watch. Don't pay attention to the backstop. See that? See all this framework back here? See all that metal?
Okay. Yep.
That's what it hit.
What my eyes thought it hit was that tee.
I see.
So it's a 2-run homer for Freddie Freeman. And the Braves pick up runs number 9 and 10 off Jimenez in the first inning. And back over the screen by Adonis Garcia. Great note on Mr. Garcia in the Braves press notes. You know the last Brave whose first 2 homers were go-ahead home runs for the ball club? This is going to shock you. 2 quick strikes. And back to the mound. Jimenez has it, and the throw to first is in time. The last Brave whose first 2 homers as a Brave were go-ahead homers, Tim Hudson.
Is that right?
Tim Hudson.
Huh. That's great.
So a comebacker takes care of Garcia.
Well, we saw enough comebackers last night to hold us over.
AJ back in harness behind the plate tonight. He was the DH yesterday.
5 comebackers to the pitcher last night by the Braves hitters.
Two balls, no strikes.
Despite the fact that there's a right-handed pitcher tonight, there are some guys in there that don't normally start against right-handers, but because they've got excellent numbers against Jimenez, Gomes and Chris Johnson are a couple.
And both are in there tonight. Gomes hitting 6th, Chris Johnson hitting 8th as the Braves' designated hitter. And a line drive spoils the shift. Second hit of the series for Przinsky, 3rd hit of the inning against Ubaldo Jimenez.
Great start. We've been talking about early runs. We've been talking about it with Matt Diaz, with Brian Jordan, with Nick Green, with all the guys on Braves Live about how important early runs are to the Atlanta Braves. 2 on the board already tonight, maybe a chance for more.
Here is the aforementioned Johnny Gomes. His numbers against Jimenez, 7 for 19 lifetime with 3 home runs. And he takes a strike. Every time you see Johnny and ask, hey, how you doing, Johnny? Right on schedule. It's a standard response. And that's fouled away. Quickly 0-2.
So far, his fastball at the low end of his scouting report, around 90, 91.
That one's up the middle. That's 4 hits in the inning for Atlanta.
That one on an 0-2 count.
Brzezinski stops at second. Jace Peterson digs in with 2 outs.
And Dave Wallace on the trot out to the mound, the pitching coach. 0-2. Fastball supposed to be in, but it had the outer half of the plate.
The Orioles are in need of some help with their starting staff. Joe mentioned last night Bud Norris has had a real bad year. After winning 15 games last year, he's lost 9, won 2, and has been banished to the bullpen. Big lift for them last night with Kevin Gossman. Boy, he was impressive.
Yes, he was. That'll make him feel better.
They've got to get this guy straightened out. He's 7-6. Down 2-0 already tonight. Pitch. Strike 1.
And the Braves need to get this guy going again. He's dropped about 40 points on his average in the last 100 to 112 at bats, hitting 161 over that stretch.
18 for 112 for Jace Peterson, dating back to June 20th.
Bases aren't loaded, Jace, but it's awfully close.
That's fouled off Caleb Joseph, the Baltimore catcher tonight.
Outfield for the Orioles very shallow. They dare you to hit the ball over their head. Leading the leading all of baseball in outfield assists.
Snyder, Jones, and Davis, the outfield trio for Buck Showalter tonight. 2 in, 2 on, 2 out. And Peterson got smoked. And now the bases are loaded, but Peterson paid the price.
He almost hit A.J. Brzezinski. I'm not sure where that one got. Jace looked like on the foot. Four-seamer. Oh, goodness. Right on the side of the knee. Oh. That'll leave a mark.
Well, let's see if Chris can bust it open here. First pitch swing, and it's hit right to Adam Jones, and that retires the side. 2 runs on 4 hits. Welcome back, Freddie Freeman. His first homer since mid-June. And after a replay review, it's confirmed. Braves 2, Orioles coming up. The Braves are off to a good start. They get a 2-run homer from Freddie Freeman. That gives Julio Teheran some runs with which to play as he faces the Orioles here in Game 2 tonight.
He'll try to add to his record of 6-5 on the year, 4.49 ERA. Good numbers in July, 2.81 ERA, but not enough wins to suit Julio, and just a 2.20 batting average against him. His 4 keys to pitching success tonight, well, naturally it has to do with being on the road. Road homers. Again, his last 6 starts, he's only given up 2 homers over 38 2/3 innings. Both of those were on the road, and 13 of his 16 have been on the road. And road interleague has been anything but kind to him. At Toronto, at Boston, and 8.74 ERA this year in those 2 starts in interleague on the road. He can do better than that. We all know that tonight.
Manny Machado hit 3rd last night. He's back in the leadoff spot tonight. And that is why it's rumored the Orioles are looking for another big bat. With Nick Markakis now in Atlanta, they lost their leadoff man. They also lost Nelson Cruz to Seattle, and they waived Delman Young. It's a dysfunctional lineup right now for the Orioles. So out of necessity, Machado hits first. In fact, 9 of this man's last 10 homers have been solo shots. Was hitless last night. 2 balls and a strike, and a rocket to left. Gomes plays it on a hop, and here's how Buck Showalter lines up the Birds in Game 2. Their lineup brought to you by Academy Sports. Machado, Paredes, Chris Davis, Jones the cleanup man, Snyder, Hardy, Parmalee, Joseph, and the crab man Ryan Flaherty bats ninth and plays second base. And that's outside to Jimmy Paredes. Good cut. And he ripped it straight back.
We all know that we can tell a lot about Julio's night by body language in the first inning and how he feels. If he's aggressive, if he's kind of picking around, if he's stalking the pitching rubber. So far, he's been aggressive.
One ball, two strikes. Now full count.
Good speed at first. Machado, 14 stolen bases, probably running on the pitch. Chance for a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Paredes, 2 for his last 12 with 9 strikeouts. Good chance for a double play here. Make a good pitch.
Machado leads. Not going. And ball 4. A hit and a walk begins the first for Julio Teheran. He too has had his share of first inning troubles, and he's in trouble with Adam Jones coming up. Adam Jones was 1 for 5 last night. After the ball game, there's some question as to the legitimacy of his leadoff hit in the 9th inning. A swinging bunt that trickled down the third base line. And that missed outside. And this is an all too familiar pattern for the Braves starter.
Yeah, it's the inning in which he gives up the most runs. 14 in 20 starts.
There's a good pitch.
Yeah, Jim Johnson claimed that last night that swinging bunt base hit to start the 9th inning for Adam Jones hit the ground and then came up and hit his shin guard. At least that was the thought. I asked some of the guys in the Braves locker room too that watched the video. They thought it hit the shin guard. I asked Ryan LaVarnway. He said he did not hear it hit the shin guard.
1 ball, 1 strike. Even if Jim wanted to protest that call, that is not a reviewable play.
Nope.
But certainly his reaction was odd. He thought something was awry.
Yeah, he didn't go after it right away.
Hit on a 2-strike count from Wieters, the next hitter. And then Hardy tied the game with a sacrifice fly. He was in the 9th. Here we're in the first. 1-2 for Adam Jones. 2 on, nobody out. Line caught by Freeman. Throw back to second, and Simmons couldn't handle
Check the webbing, Freddie. That ball was scorched. 1 out.
The way he jumped and came down, he was in perfect position to throw back behind the runner. I don't know if they were going to get Machado, but that ball was sizzling to Andrelton too.
Now you've got Chris Davis up there. Big strikeout candidate. 123 of them in 346 at bats. However, tremendous power too. That's the trade-off that Baltimore plays with. Taken low. Davis, one of 7 potential free agents for the Orioles. Pickoff. As Joe said, Julio has a lot of those. That was well scouted. Machado didn't have much of a lead at second.
Even when you don't get the out, it certainly puts it in his head that you will throw, and any bluff by Simmons causes him to shorten up his lead.
Fly ball crushed toward right center. It's 3-2.
Watch Julio's reaction. Fastball down at the knees. Very strong man. Down and got it.
So Baltimore's in front 3-2. When you play the Orioles, if you can keep them out of the home run column, you got a chance to beat them. They've won just 8 games this year when they haven't hit a homer. They've got a first inning blast that turns the game around. And Toronto's first inning troubles have continued in a big way.
And road homers.
Yeah.
And that's why you live with Davis's strikeouts, because he can do that on one pitch. Turn the game around.
Travis Snyder claimed that ball hit him. Scott Berry, the home plate umpire, said no, it didn't, and Buck Showalter's out asking for a little help.
Yeah, it did. Hit him in the foot, didn't it?
Left toe.
Yeah. They're going to go look.
So our second review of this long first inning. It wasn't a solid blow. It was a glancing blow. You could understand why the umpire might think it hit the dirt. It got a lot more dirt than foot.
An overhead view they just showed on the big screen, I think, showed that it did hit him in the foot. Certainly looked like it changed directions there. And it did. Yeah, pretty obvious.
So Snyder at first after being hit by a pitch, and J.J. Hardy with a 10-game hitting streak digs in. And a strike. caught. Another bullet.
Yeah, I was going to say the 2 outs this inning haven't been exactly flares. So both of these starting pitchers giving up some lasers in the first inning.
This is Chris Parmelee. And he takes a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Four homers, 9 RBIs for Parmelee. Just 90 at bats for him so far this year. And that missed.
He's another guy who got off to a red hot start. He was called up. Homered in consecutive games in his Orioles debut, but has found it going a little rougher lately.
Former first-round pick of the Twins. 3-0. Last year in Minnesota, Parmelee had 250 at bats, 7 homers, 28 knocked in. Chris, now 27 years old, lives in California in the offseason, and should find this ballpark to be a lot more hitter friendly than Target Field in Minneapolis.
You know it.
Three balls at a strike. The runner goes. It's outside. Ball 4. This is almost painful to watch. 2 hits, 2 walks, a hit batsman. And now the 8th place hitter is up for the Orioles in Tehran with 26 pitches already.
This time it's Roger McDowell's turn to go out to the mound and try to get his pitcher back on track.
Oh, we said Jimenez and Tehran are an awful lot alike.
Yeah.
It's certainly been that way here in the first inning. Now the pride of Franklin, Tennessee, Caleb Joseph digs in. He's out of Lipscomb University. Last year's first season in the big leagues. 82 games, 9 homers, 28 RBIs, low batting average at just .207. Already big improvements for the 28-year-old Caleb Joseph.
Everything away. Been suggested that maybe to set up those pitches away, you establish inside here in the early going. Julio used to rankle some people because he hit batters. You remember? I mean,
yeah.
Not the least of which was Bryce Harper, who had a stare-down session with him. And this year he's hit 6, but he used to hit, it seems to me, more guys accidentally because he pitched inside more.
And as wild as he's been in this first inning, close calls aren't going to go to him, and now he's behind 3-0 to another hitter.
Remember, there's no pitcher on deck. But there is one in the bullpen.
Detweiler, who started with Texas, has plenty of starting experience. He is already up in the first inning. 3-0. Third walk of the inning. 30 pitches. The 2 outs that Teheran has got were barreled up. Line drive to first, line drive to short. A long home run by Chris Davis makes it a 3-2 game. 17 pitches out of the strike zone.
If he wants to stay in this game, he better get Flaherty.
Yeah. Strike one. Four homers, 22 knocked in for Flaherty. He was 0 for 4 last night. Flaherty played first and second last night. Not been a whole lot of real good fastballs either from Teheran.
I remember one at 92. I think it was a top end for the inning.
Ground ball to short. Tricky hop. Simmons stayed with it. And that retires the side. Baltimore got a 3-run homer from Chris Davis. They send 9 to the plate in the opening inning. After one wild first, it's Baltimore 3 and the Braves 2. Boy, he's a live wire. One of the great Braves back in the 1970s. Batting champion. Man they called the Roadrunner. And let's hope Ralph Garr can get the Braves going here in the second. Baltimore's defense is outstanding. As Joe mentioned, 28 assists, just 39 errors for Buck Showalter's defensive squad. That's brought to you by CPI Security. New life for Ubaldo Jimenez, who wasn't particularly impressive in his first inning. He saw 8 Braves batters. Anderson Simmons hitting 9th and leading off.
I would think it would be very difficult for Jimenez to maintain any consistency, and not just start to start, but inning to inning with his long, exaggerated arm action. I mean, if it's not in concert with his stride, with his front shoulder, and when he starts to the plate, it's going to be all discombobulated because it comes from way back there.
And right after his offense gave him a 1-run lead, he's fallen behind Anderson Simmons. 3 balls and a strike.
Yeah, he got a reprieve, and they're all wondering what it's going to lead to.
A leadoff walk.
See, that was like a two-seamer, almost like a changeup to him. He maybe just aimed it, and it looked bad that way. But he was just given the lead, and he's trying to trick him. 3-1. Thank you.
That's his first walk. And now a nice cheer again for Nick Markakis, who ripped the first pitch of the game right up the middle.
Going back 2 starts, plus his first inning tonight, plus Andrelton Simmons. His last 8 innings, 19 hits, 16 runs, 4 walks, 5 homers for this guy.
There's a man that you and I worked with for a lot of years out in Seattle, that great Dave Niehaus. Get a stat like that, they'd ask a very simple question. Good or bad?
Pretty simple.
Yeah. One ball, 2 strikes. Here it is. Andrelton has a good lead at first. And it's out of play. Nick was very touched by the reception he got last night. I mean, this is maybe something you may not believe. He actually did grin from ear to ear after the game in the locker room when he was asked by the media about what it meant to come back and get that kind of reception. The Orioles had a great video tribute to him in between innings around the 3rd. Showing Nick from the days he was drafted to his big league debut, and then late in his 9-year career with Baltimore. One of the reporters asked, "Did you see it? What'd you think?" He said, "Well, actually, I only saw the second half because I didn't even know it was playing." But it was very, very classily done. 1-2 pitch, and he chased one that time and fouled it off. And Markakis is still alive. Is that tough to do as a player? Play somewhere a long time, come back for the first time?
Longest I ever played any place was Seattle for 4 years, and went back there. And yeah, but it's always fun to go back and see everybody. That's what's most fun about it. I got to go back and face Gaylord. That was fun.
1-2 pitch, and he didn't get that one. At 90 miles an hour, well, there's the first out of the inning.
And that one away from him. Didn't look like a strike, but too close to take for Nick.
Cameron Maben bounced out to first with the pitcher covering, so he's 0 for 1. Right off the thumbs. Machado to second, 1, and not in time at first. Nice turn by Flaherty, but a slow developing play.
Real good turn. And because it was slowly hit, he knew that he was right in the way of Andrelton Simmons, too. Again, they are a top notch, best defensive team in baseball.
The Oriole way, you know. Here's Freddie, long homer, his first time up. And he hits one high in the air toward left, but this one's going to be playable. Snyder drifts back shy of the track. And Ubaldo Jimenez works around a leadoff walk. He leads 3-2. Top of his orders coming up in the second.
Right stuff, low price, every day.
Nick Markakis and the Braves down a run as we head to the home half of the second inning here in Baltimore. Orioles batted around against Julio Teheran. Let's see if he can use his defense. A couple of hit batsmen and 3 first inning walks.
Pretty cool, that shot of his glove, huh?
Manny Machado single to start the game. And scored ahead of Chris Davis's wild home run. He jumps all over the first pitch and cracks one toward left. Gomes on the warning track is there. One long, loud out. Julio used his defense. Brought to you by CPI Security, Gomes, Maben, and Markakis. Adonis Garcia, Freddie Freeman, the cornerman, and as we told you, A.J. Brzezinski is behind the plate.
Not missing any barrels just yet.
Jimmy Paredes walked and scored his first time up. He's their designated hitter. And when he does good things, Gary Thorne says, I love a Paredes. But you didn't know that.
I've heard stories about that.
Paredes was originally a Yankee amateur free agent. He was acquired by Houston with Mark Melanson for Lance Berkman. He was at the trading deadline in 2010. He hits one in the air to center. Maben drifts back. And he's got room shy of the track. There's the second out. Another hard hit ball.
That was a great example of how you don't have to use so much body to swing. Look how he keeps his hands inside, short stride, really used his hips to generate some power in that swing and bat speed, and the ball jumped. Wasn't about arm extension. It was about staying inside the baseball. That was a good swing from a guy who's really been scuffling.
Adam Jones lined out his first time up. And took inside. And high. 1 ball, no strikes. Adam Jones, a 5-time All-Star for the Orioles. Rips one in front of Johnny Gomes. He's got a 2-out single.
Home runs feel better than anything, obviously, because he hits the ball a long way. But the way he hit this fastball that was up, it was so pure. Great extension and out front. It stayed in the ballpark. It's just a single. But I guarantee if you ask Jones there, he'd say he didn't even feel that.
Really?
Just a pure piece of contact right there.
I said last night, and I say it again tonight, the most exciting thing about the series for me is seeing Adam Jones play in a 3-game set. It really is a rare treat. The game's terrific stars. And a young man who really stepped to the forefront here in Baltimore with the horrific crime spree that took place, the rioting here downtown. He really was a man who helped calm the community here in Baltimore. A 1 pitch. And out of play. Off the bat of Chris Davis. Baltimore starts play tonight. Winners of 3 in a row. They are tied with Toronto, 7 games behind the Yankees. Boy, did the Toronto Blue Jays make a big move. Talk about that. Troy Tulowitzki was traded from Colorado. It is now a Toronto Blue Jay.
For Jose Reyes and 3 pitchers, 3 minor league pitchers.
That's what Toronto needs. More offense. No balls, 2 strikes. And high. 1-2.
Big question regarding Tulowitzki going to the Blue Jays is how will he physically hold up on the turf? There is some talk about them turning their playing field into natural grass at Sky Dome at some point. That might accelerate their move to do that.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And that's taken low. Yeah, the money almost worked out perfectly for a couple of years because Jose Reyes was making $22 million. So in essence, Toronto gets the services of Troy Tulowitzki for a net of $10 million a year for the next 5 years. Take away the money that they had to pay Reyes. That's a bargain if he can play at all.
You stay on the field.
Yeah. High towering fly ball deep right. Markakis back. Still going. That ball carries out. Davis has hit another homer.
This swing similar to what I was talking about with respect to Brady's leverage. Hands in. He doesn't get his hands away from his body. He keeps them tucked in there to get the barrel through when those hips fly open. Boom. Another high pitch too.
Wow. 2 homers, 5 RBIs for Davis in 2 innings. And another hit.
This rally coming after 2 are out, but both of those outs were fly ball outs. Yeah, not a bad start to Davis's night.
Tenth career multi-homer game for Chris Davis. And 5 RBIs matches his career high, and he's going to have 3 or 4 more chances to swing the bat tonight. That's over the protective screen foul. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes for the Orioles shortstop. Orioles are trying to get over 500. They start play at 49-49. They've got a 5-2 lead. And a swing and a miss. 3 straight hits after 2 outs were made. Chris Davis has hit a 3-run homer. He's hit a 2-run homer. And the Orioles extend their lead.
Zaxby's, and Georgia Power.
Beautiful sunset. It's an Orioles sky, a lot of orange and brown in the heavens above, and that's been the story tonight.
Some people call it an Oreo sky, but
that's true. So it's a 5-2 Baltimore lead. Braves have the bases loaded against Ubaldo Jimenez with 2 outs in the first, and Chris Johnson swung at the first pitch, lined out, and then couldn't put anything together in the second. Garcia, Przinsky, and Gomes are coming up. Hardy got the big hop, and he made the play. 1 out.
They do a lot of old school things here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards that I appreciate, and I don't think too many other teams do it. And one is that they don't play the anthem until their team takes the field. So they're playing the anthem while their players are already either in position or have gathered together to honor the anthem. The other, I was just looking at the on-deck circle. It's just a simple little chalk circle like we used to do in American Legion ball, you know. There's no mat, you know, with everybody's fancy logo on it. When was the last time you saw that at a big league game?
Never. Out of play, strike 1 for A.J. Przinsky. That's the inherent charm of this park. It has all the modern conveniences, but has the feel for what I presume baseball felt like back in the 1930s or 40s. You made a great observation on the bus yesterday at how much the exterior of this park reminds us of home.
Yeah, it does. It looks a lot like Turner Field in many ways.
Fly ball left. Snyder has it. 2 outs. And here's the pilot, Johnny Gomes. We've got the piston, LeVar Way. We've got the pilot, Johnny Gomes. Here's why. Check this out.
Almost knocked Roger into the dugout. I'd say he was handling that pretty well. Terrorizing.
Gomes singled on an 0-2 count in the first inning for the Braves. His 8th hit, 20 at bats against Ubaldo Jimenez. I hope Johnny finishes the year with the Braves. Love to see him stay and help the young players that certainly we're going to see the second half of the year. But his leadership, his postseason experience, his work against left-handed pitching, I would think, would make him a very attractive trade target at the deadline, which is 3 short days away.
Yeah, I was just thinking the last guy we said that to, Kelly Johnson, was gone 2 days later. So
oh,
so
never mind.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good sign or not.
Yeah. 2-1 pitch. Another big trade today. I guess it's final. Jonathan Papelbon is now a Nat.
Yeah, and he's going to take over the closer role from Drew Storen. That'll be a happy clubhouse.
Outside, Washington to Miami tonight. Jordan Zimmerman and Jose Fernandez are meeting at Marlins Park. 1-0 Washington in the bottom of the 4th. To the right side, and Gomes out by a quarter step.
Almost beat the shift.
Sure did. 3 up, 3 down in the Atlanta third. Johnny Gomes, as he always does, hustles, but he sends the game to the home third. To host country superstar and Georgia native Sam Hunt for a free post-game concert after the game against the Nationals Thursday, October 1st, brought to you by Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines. Tickets are sure to go fast. Get them now at Braves.com/concerts. Beautiful view from our vantage point in Baltimore.
Just not the same out there in left field, though, without being able to see the Brewers Seltzer Tower.
Where to go?
It's behind that big hospital.
Oh, really?
Well, I think it's a hospital. It's got a big H on it.
Oh, yeah, probably a hospital.
The tower is back there somewhere. know, you used to be able to.
I was going to ask if you want to draw it. So
no, you just have to take our word for it. You know.
You draw it, we're going to need some promo seltzer. 1 ball, 2 strikes. For Chris Parmalee, who walked very long first inning for Tehran. He gave up 3 in the first on a Chris Davis homer, 2 more in the second, another Davis homer. Davis has accounted for all 5 Orioles RBIs. Strike 3 over the outside corner. Big slow curveball, it looked like.
Yeah, and he hasn't gotten many calls so far, Chip, and rightfully so. He's been all over the place, but I think he got one here. Backdoor breaking ball. Not sure that ever had the plate, but he got the ring up.
Second strikeout in a row for Tehran. Here's Caleb Joseph. Not a bad seat in the house here in Baltimore. One of those high rises. They've got some balconies and fans have a bird's eye view of the ballpark. Out in left center. I'd like to sit up there and watch a game. Pretty nice.
Yell at the umpire. What was that pitch?
That was one of the funniest scenes of the night last night. Watching Jim Wolf give Scott Berry grief after he got hit with a foul ball last night. I can't remember who hit it. It might have been Markakis, because when Nick came up in the first inning, Berry was talking about it, kind of laughing, said, "Hey, hit it straight, will you?"
Might have been.
That's out of play, headed for the second deck. Already 61 pitches for Julio Tehran. That's downstairs. Caleb.
Hold on.
That was ball 3.
And he's a catcher.
That's encouraging, right? There he goes. He took his time and made sure that was 4. And 4 is the number of walks Tehran has issued.
Well, if you weren't with us last night, you missed one of the funniest things of the year right here. Watch this. Ryan Flaherty trying to get the ball. Couldn't get the ball. Get up. Come on, Ryan. Get up. Make that left arm work. Come on, crab boy.
They have to call him the fiddler.
Oh, baby.
I love what you said last night. Where's the pitch? Imagine the free hand is pinned to the ground. He just was going to go in a circle.
Yeah, he would have never been able to get to the ball. He was just going around and around like a big flat tire.
Man, oh man, no balls at a strike. Fastball of the outside corner. It's 0-2.
Again, he's not getting any calls other than the one that he rang up Parmalee on. PNC Bank box tracks. Bottom of the zone. Good pitch.
The call the ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Slowly hit towards second. And first gets Ryan Flaherty. Joseph to second. Top of the order, Manny Machado.
You mentioned the Tulowitzki thing.
Yeah.
The possibility, I guess it's done deal with Papelbon going to Washington. Another good move by the Royals. Vin Zobrist. Great pickup for them.
Real versatile player. It's Alex Gordon who's hurt, correct? He's the kid that tore up a leg. He's still on the disabled list, so that's some insurance. And hey, give the Kansas City club credit. They are going for it. Commanding 8-game lead in the AL Central. They've added Zobrist. They've added Johnny Cueto.
Dayton Moore is still the general manager in Kansas City and has done a great job of getting that team to the level it is. And to me, this is kind of a very John Schuerholz Atlanta Braves move. Got a big lead, adding on, not sitting pat.
Yeah.
He learned at the hand or at the side of John Schuerholz, and that's a very strong Schuerholz type move this time of year, even though you've got a big lead.
1 ball, no strikes. And like Baltimore, the Royals in the next year or so have some very difficult decisions to make. They have had a young core that's very good, that's grown up together. But with that, as they have major league experience, it becomes arbitration years, free agency years. And so Kansas City, they might have a rather short window to keep that team together. They're all in this year. How to play a foul. Apparently the Phillies said to the rest of Major League Baseball, last best offers tomorrow, right?
Right, on Hamels. So it would appear, don't know for sure, even though Hamels is scheduled to pitch either Thursday or Friday. I think Friday's his turn and would get the Braves. It's almost as if they're saying he won't pitch again. Not for them.
Correct. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Several teams apparently in on Cole Hamels. The latest may be the Houston Astros.
Well, another one that kind of joined the fray today, at least reports were the San Francisco Giants.
Need somebody behind Bumgarner, right?
That would be a heck of a move on the part of the Giants. It's just question whether or not they've got the pieces to satisfy Philadelphia.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Line out of play. Every year we say the same thing though about the Giants. Do they have enough pieces to make a deal? And they always seem to make a deal and get the exact piece they need to go on a big run. And they're on one now. The Giants are 12-1 in the last 13 games. They pulled to within a half game of the Dodgers. And Buster Posey is red hot.
Can't count them out at all.
Back by Machado. If it's something mechanical with Julio Teheran, the more he pitches, the more you hope he'll find something that clicks for him.
You saw that pat of the glove and the cheering section going on behind the plate from A.J. Przinsky.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right where A.J. wanted it to. He wanted him to burn that outside corner. Oh, let's see if the PNC Bank box track shows it was away, and it was. A.J. had to bring it back a little bit, but that was a great effort there to hit that spot. Now the runner will be on the move. No, he won't. Runners first and second.
Now back. Ninth pitch coming up for Machado in this at bat. Swing and a miss. He pulled a string, and he has his third strikeout of the night. We head to the fourth inning. Baltimore 5, Braves 2.
I'm Andre Aldridge. For young Jace Peterson, this is his second straight night batting in the sixth hole. He told me that when he's the leadoff batter, he understands that his production needs to be an awful lot better than it has been. But he added that his approach at the plate isn't going to be any different when he's batting sixth. And as for that great production with the bases loaded, he said he doesn't do anything different then, because if he did, he'd write that secret on a cheat sheet, guys, and use it all the time.
Yeah, sell it, Andre. It is terrific. More RBIs with the bases loaded than anybody in baseball.
And he starts things off for the Braves. Try to bunt. That is a fair ball. And a nice play by Caleb Joseph. He let that ball roll for a good 3-4 seconds. It took a quick turn, was sitting on the chalk, and he threw a strike to get Jace Peterson.
Caleb Joseph is an excellent defensive catcher. Played well, although he didn't hit for much average in the absence. That thing come back fair. In the absence of Matt Wieters last year, he hit 9 homers, but he barely hit over 200. But his defense was why he helped this ball club.
Well, with their offense last year, they didn't need him to hit. With Nelson Cruz and Markakis, well, certainly they were shorthanded in the playoffs. Catch it, call it, and throw it. Well, Joseph did that. Now he's trying to guide Ubaldo Jimenez through what was a rough first. After the first inning, the Braves have yet to record a hit. They had 4 of them in the opening frame. Despite those splits Joe mentioned, Chris Johnson, one of the right-handed bats who's had some luck against Jimenez. After lining out the first, he's 3 for 7 head-to-head against him.
That was obviously the key at bat for Jimenez in the first inning. After giving up the 2-run homer to Freeman, he reloaded the bases on a couple of hits and a hit batsman, but he got Chris to go after the first pitch. and hit a fly ball out.
Full count. Strike three looking. Chris Johnson is the second out. The players might be wondering where those calls are for Julio Teheran.
Bottom of the zone was a strike. Chris was headed to first base and that almost hit Scott Berry.
Hamilton walked and was forced out back in the Braves second. In the dirt, 1 ball, no strikes.
Back in 2010 when Jimenez threw the no-hitter at Turner Field for the Rockies, he walked 6 that night. Base runners everywhere. Struck out 7.
Old A.J. Burnett special. First no-hitter in the history of the Colorado Rockies franchise. And with the trade of Troy Tulowitzki, looks like the next plan for the Rockies require as many hard throws as they can and take their chances with a team that can just bludgeon you at home and hopefully keep you in the game on the road.
Now, one of the tough things for people like us is when you know or you hear about a trade like Tulowitzki, you think, wow, they get back. Well, you know about Reyes, you know he's going to step in and play shortstop, but you don't know about the other guys. Nolan Arenado, the third baseman for the Rockies, says, I don't know any of these dudes, I believe was his quote. So it's hard to judge how good the trade was from the Rockies side until you figure out who some of these pitching prospects are.
Well, one, they say $50 million. You know that is part of it. And Simmons flips the bat and heads to first. Kevin Seitzer was in the Toronto organization, and he knew all of the players that were involved in the deal. He liked them. He thought that this was a terrific trade for the Rockies. The power arms, big arms, all of them can touch 97 to 100 miles an hour. Wow. Whether they can throw strikes or not remains to be seen.
Well, if you're a Rockies fan, then that's very encouraging coming from somebody who does know the material.
Runner at first, 2 outs. Nick Markakis the batter. Nick singled and scored ahead of Freddie Freeman's home run.
There are obvious reasons I'd like to see Nick Markakis hit a homer. But one of them is I'd like to see how these fans would react.
That bounced away from the catcher, and Simmons will move up 90 feet.
Just bragged on Joseph, but that did not appear to be a fundamental way to block that pitch. Just tried to backhand it.
Oh, the wild pitch. And your point about Markakis and homers in this park, he hit 82 home runs in Baltimore as an Oriole. And a strike. It's 2-1. Well, can the Orioles make a run? With the 2 wild cards, you'd have to say the answer is yeah. And the saying in baseball, get to 500, see where you are. Swing and a miss. They started the series 3.5 back for the 2nd wild card. And they're currently 7 games behind the Yankees for the AL East crown. Crown that Baltimore won last year. Should things get interesting down the stretch, Interesting enough, the final homestand for the Orioles, 4 with Toronto, and the final 3 games of the year are with the Yankees.
It'll be fun. Hopefully there's something on the line for all 3 of those teams.
Full count pitch. Here in the Braves' 4th, 5-2 Orioles. And he popped him up. Flaherty at second's got it. And that will retire the side. No runs, a hit. Or no runs, no hits, I beg your pardon. 1 left.
Every day.
All right, fans, now it's time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag SouthDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Beautiful night in Baltimore where the Orioles lead 5-2. It's a special day for a couple of folks we care deeply about. Braves assistant general manager John Campolella is celebrating his 37th birthday today.
He's a mere child.
And our producer Brian Woodruff is 46 years young today.
He's almost a child.
Jimmy Paredes is the batter and takes a strike.
Almost.
We've sinned, but we know you've suffered enough already. So happy birthday, fellas. That ball is ripped deep to right. Well, foul, but how far is that one going to go? Almost to the last row in those seats down the right field line.
Now, you mentioned that if you hit a ball over on Utah Street, they'll put a plaque in the sidewalk, right?
Yep.
Didn't Ken Griffey Jr. hit one off the building?
He's the only guy to do it. That was during the All-Star game.
Okay.
I asked that very same question earlier in the series. There you see it. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
That was during batting practice for the All-Star game, but still, because nobody's done it before or since, that's certainly worthy.
Long way.
He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Oh, deservedly so. 0-2 is the count. Easy. That's right.
Sorry. I think he's eligible next year.
I think that's right.
Also welcome back Gretchen Caney, back from doing all that great work for us and for the Fox Network in Cooperstown. She and Jen Heldreth were terrific.
Fourth strikeout for Teheran. Good start for him in the fourth inning. And there's number one for Adam Jones.
Gretchen is telling us today about how accommodating everybody was. Everybody from the Braves organization and the Braves, all the Braves Hall of Famers from last year and this, and how great they were to talk to and very cooperative. That was super. Made their job a little easier and certainly made it fun for us to see.
Great stuff from Cooperstown. And that era of Braves baseball is not over being representative. John Sherwold has to get into the Hall of Fame at some point.
One would think.
And not far behind is Chipper Jones, too. Every time I think about John in the Hall of Fame, I remember what Hall of Fame writer Peter Gammon said about him and Bobby Cox. And this is years before they were eligible. Shouldn't they be in already? Because it's not as if they can do their jobs any better. Fly ball center right at Maven. And Cameron's got that for the second out. What a wonderful fitting cap to that particular era of Braves baseball when it happens.
It'll happen.
It will happen. And it's not the end of what we hope to be great baseball, but the most fitting way possible to put a gigantic exclamation point on a tremendous 14-year Atlanta run.
It'll happen.
Third at bat for Davis is already 2 for 2 with 2 homers and 5 RBIs. Strike one. 10th multi-homer game for him in the big leagues, and 5 RBIs in a game matches his career high mark. Ross Detweiler is up again in the Braves pen.
Third time.
Davis lives in Dallas, Texas. He'll be 30 by opening day next year.
That's all? Yep. He's just 29. I did not know that.
Broke in 2008 with Texas. And like tonight, he broke in with a bang. These are our Zaxby's indescribably good plays.
Low pitch. Turned the game around. Braves have gotten 2 on the top of the first. That was a 3-run homer. And then a high fastball launched a 2-run homer. Zaxby's indescribably good plays.
Davis broke in with Texas on June 26th. He hit home runs in each of his first 2 starts. First Ranger ever to do that. He played just 80 games, 17 homers, 55 RBIs, and hit .285 that year.
That would keep you on a ball club for most people.
Too high, 2-2.
It would appear with Detweiler up again that this would be the last inning for Julio. We'll wait and see. But 90 pitches in 4 innings.
Now full count. And to your point about keeping the big leagues, I'm guessing his monumental strikeout totals had everybody scratching their heads.
It did. Subsequent year, he was having a hard time making contact. Became expendable.
Sharply hit. Garcia is the man who managed the shift. And Julio Teheran has his first 1-2-3 inning. Much needed. We head to the 5th. It's 5-2 as we head to the top of the 5th inning here in Baltimore. Time for the Braves to get something going against these hard-hitting Baltimore Orioles. Our AT&T Universe trivia question. Adam Jones has 181 career homers with the Orioles. That's 8th best. Who's hit the most homers in Baltimore Orioles history?
Is it possible to say anyone with any records in Baltimore history without saying Cal Ripken Jr.? I mean, Eddie Murray hit a ton too.
That was going to be my guess. Eddie Murray.
Big Cal hit a ton, but not as many as those other guys.
1 ball, 1 strike. Hayden took inside. It's now 2-1.
Need to get that leadoff guy on.
Yep.
Get something going here. Jimenez has not been that sharp.
Runs have been tough to come by for the Braves on the road trip so far, including tonight. They've scored a grand total of 8 runs, and this is the 5th game. Things were looking good when Freddie Freeman homered the other way. Chris Davis has been too much for Julio Teheran tonight. Foul ball right at Hardy. He slides to his right. 1 out.
Cameron really busting it down the line too, every time. As you have said before, and others, it doesn't cost anything to hustle. And I don't remember too many ground balls where Cameron Maybin wasn't running his hardest down the line.
Freeman broke his bat, pops one right to the top of the mound, and Ubaldo Jimenez makes the play. 2 out.
High target. Breaking ball in on him. Tied him up. Pitching in.
Makes a difference, doesn't it?
Well, it just sets up everything else. And you have to respect that.
Hardy again. Backhanded stab. And Ubaldo has an easy 5th. 3 up, 3 down. 5-2 Orioles in game 2. In Atlanta, we want to help you help us select the most memorable moment in Braves history. Throughout the end of the year, Braves.com/A50 will feature a new memorable moment matchup. And you'll be able to vote on that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Go to Braves.com/A50 to relive your favorite Atlanta Braves moments. Good news in Miami. The Marlins have taken a 2-1 lead over Jordan Zimmerman. D. Gordon, by the way, is back from his sprained thumb. He's got 2 hits, including a single and a triple and the go-ahead run. Jose Fernandez has won 14 consecutive home decisions. He's 14-0, in fact, in Marlins Park.
This is Ross Detweiler. Long reliever right now for the Atlanta Braves. You see he's been in 4 games. He's been in 149 games in the big leagues and 76 starts. Originally with Washington, he was the 6th overall pick in the 07 draft. And he'll be asked to pick up a few innings here and save the bullpen after Julio was only able to go 4 innings.
That snaps a streak of 3 straight 7-inning or better starts by the Braves starting staff. So Detweiler versus Travis Snyder.
That's another one of the frustrating things for Julio, the inconsistency. He's pitched 7 innings in 4 of his last 6 starts. Washington got a couple of their starters back tonight too. Jason Worth is back in the lineup. So is Ryan Zimmerman.
We haven't seen the Nationals team as Mike Rizzo and Matt Williams envisioned it virtually all year. And they've got to pick up the pace. Their lead over the Mets is only 2 games. Tonight the Mets lead James Shields and the Padres 2-0 in the 7th. Noah Syndergaard had a perfect game into the 7th inning tonight.
Wow.
But he gave up a hit. A good start for Detweiler. He gets Travis Snyder on a roller. 1 man down. J.J. Hardy is the batter. Justin Upton, one of the potential trade targets being offered up by the Padres, is 0 for 2 tonight. The Mets have inquired about him. The Orioles have inquired about him. James Shields also maybe on the block. He's given up 2 runs in 6 innings tonight. No balls and a strike. J.J. Hardy's good work at the plate is our Georgia lottery hitting the jackpot.
A couple of doubles and a home run mixed in there in his last 10. Had a big sacrifice fly last night to tie the game in the 9th.
He's 0 for 2 so far in this game.
That San Diego ball club, that deal is kind of hard to figure for me. They're 5 games under 500. They're 8.5 out, but they've won 3 in a row in 7 of their last 10. So I guess they are the talks of trading Justin Upton, at least the rumors. It's like they're bailing on what was their go for it plan at the beginning of the year.
And not just Justin Upton, James Shields,
yes,
Craig Kimbrell. They'd love to move Jed Jerko, who's been a big disappointment after a big contract. In fact, when we saw the Padres in Atlanta, he was dispatched to the minor leagues. They added Matt Kemp, of course. Will Myers has been hurt all year with a bad wrist. And Hardy bangs a single up the middle and now has an 11-game hitting streak.
So the firing of Buddy Black didn't help. Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much it. Yeah. 11-game streak matches the longest of the year for J.J. Hardy from June 7th through the 18th. He had 16 hits during that first double-digit hitting run. Chris Parmalee, the batter. He's walked and he's struck out. Big breaking ball retired him on strikes.
You know, it strikes me when I think of that Padres situation. New guy running the show in terms of their ball club. GM came over from Texas.
A.J. Preller?
Yes. And I'm not just...
Dribbled toward first. Freeman will apply the chest high tag. 2 out.
And I don't want this to come across that I'm picking on him. But I remember talking to Dwayne Kuiper, former big leaguer and longtime respected broadcaster for the Giants. And several years ago, back when the Braves were still rolling with their 14 straight division titles, he said, you know, the thing that's been most noticeable to me is the consistency of one general manager and one manager through this whole thing. There's a consistency of how the Braves go about their business. There's a consistency of how they operate. While other teams, there's fluctuations constantly. You know, GMs hired and fired, managers going through a revolving door, and everybody having a better way to make a mousetrap, and it seems like the teams just kind of tread water all the time. And that's kind of the way I look at this Padres situation. But there's other teams like them that, boy, all of a sudden they had a windfall of money to spend from their TV deal, and we're going for it. We're going to do this and we're going to do that, and now we're at the end of July, and okay, well, that didn't work.
So now what do we do?
Yeah.
Trade all those players for pennies on the dollar is what the Padres might have to do.
But that's, you know, that's 100 games into what you were going to do, what you thought was the right way to go, and this is going to be how we get this organization going. And 100 games later, you're saying, nah, okay, that's not it. Let's see what else we can do.
And you're going to have, one would think, a new manager next year. I don't think Pat Murphy has done anything poorly, but he's.
But I'm not just singling out the Padres. They're just a great example. But there's other teams that do the same thing.
How about the Cubs? There's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, they are.
I think they've had 10, 12 managers in the same period of time. The Braves have had 2. Not to mention general managers and presidents and scouting directors and farm directors.
I'd like to think the Cubs have settled. Yeah, and by that I mean they've calmed down. They have people in place,
top to bottom.
Yeah, that okay, we can work from here now, and I expect the Cubs to get better and better.
0-2 from Detweiler. And Krasinski, a nice stop. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
Take some courage to stick to your plan. If this is what you believe will work, if this is what you believe as a guy running a team in your heart, this is what I would do before you got the job. This is how I would run a team. When you get in that position, you can't play 100 games and say, I'm out of here. I got to flip a coin and do something else. You got to stick to it. Even if you take your lumps early or for a while, if you in your heart believe this works or a way works, stick to it.
See what happens. It hasn't worked for the Padres this year. Cubs thought this was going to be their year. They're 11.5 games out in the National League Central. And that one's banged up the middle. A base hit by Caleb Joseph. Streaking around third is Hardy. He will score without a throw, and the Baltimore Orioles have added a 6th run. .31 RBIs for Caleb Joseph. And that goes back to the point I made a moment ago about the Orioles. You know, all those years that Earl Weaver was in charge here, they called it the Oriole Way. Ripken Sr., the Oriole Way. They had an organizational philosophy and style of play that even if they changed managers and changed personnel, the way that they played in an organization was the same from top to bottom.
Much like the Cardinals.
Yep.
Same way.
And I would think from a player's perspective, when you're making your way through the minor leagues, that's a very comforting thing. This is how I'm expected to play if I'm going to be a Cardinal, a Brave, a Dodger, or Oriole. When you come in and say, well, that way's out the door, it's my way, usually it doesn't work out too well, either for the organization or the guy that's trying to make those overreaching changes to what has been a very successful program. Buck Showalter is a perfect example of that in a good way. Everywhere he's gone, he's had success.
There's a history. There's a blueprint.
Right.
It doesn't matter who's really calling the shots in terms of how it was set up to succeed. And, you know, a lot for Buck is a lot like it was for Bobby Cox, and that is that in the minor leagues, guys would do something that maybe they shouldn't have been doing, or they played a way they shouldn't have been playing, and then managers were quick to say, hey, you know, Bobby doesn't like that. And you could be an A ball. Buck doesn't like that. You might be in rookie ball. So the thing that you better figure out as a player is, how do they do it up there? And how does the manager want it done?
So look at this.
And maybe I better figure that out as a player.
Flaherty's 0 for 2. He's hit the ball to the shortstop and the second baseman tonight. Swing and a miss. And that ends the inning. A run on 2 hits. Off we go to the 6th inning. It's 6-2. Baltimore in front. Time for our Lexus game summary as we head to the top of the 6th inning.
I'd like it to be the Lexus rewind, and let's rewind back to the top of the 1st, where the Braves got 2 runs and had a 2-0 lead, and give Julio Teheran a chance to restart, give him a mulligan after he gave up a 3-run homer to Chris Davis in the first, 2-run homer to him in the 2nd inning, and since then Ubaldo Jimenez has shut the Braves out. Braves 2 runs on a Freddie Freeman homer.
So on a warm night, no sleevage for Ubaldo Jimenez. And a sinker sunk too low. 1 ball, no strikes. Brzezinski, Gomes, and Jace Peterson are coming up. One ball, 1 strike. J.J. Hardy on the first base side of second base. A.J. hit it right to him in the teeth of the shift. Hardy's been busy, and another flawless chance handled for out number 1.
Okay, another target inside. Pitch was up. Tried to fight it off and couldn't. The Braves are going through a quiver of bats in the first game and a half of this series. The Orioles are pitching them in, making them respect pitches in, and a lot of comebackers last night.
Yep.
A lot of broken bats tonight.
Didn't see Julio pitch much in for the Braves. That surprised me. It was good fastball.
Well, I looked it up, and 2 years ago he hit 13 batters.
Okay.
Last year he hit 4. Still won 14 games, but he had a tough September like everybody else did. And so far this year he's hit 6.
And I know you're not advocating Julio drills guys, but that's pitching with a purpose.
That's pitching in is vital to virtually every guy. Not every pitcher, but Tom Glavine had to pitch in once in a while to make that changeup effective. And likewise for Julio with his breaking stuff, got to keep him honest.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Just past 9 o'clock in Baltimore. Ubaldo Jimenez has a 4-run lead. And a ground ball third. Machado. Long throw. A laser beam gets Gomes. 2 out.
Talking to a scout before the ball game who's seen the Orioles a whole lot more than we have. And we were talking about Machado and how he's still got some things to learn offensively. He's still got a little bit of a wild swing. He'll chase some bad pitches and he'll get better and better at that. But at third base, don't have any worries over there. And this scout talked about that play he made last night where he did that 360 spin
with the bad footwork.
He said, I've never seen anybody do that well and just keep spinning. And that was a great play last night he made going to his left.
He's 22. Just think how good he's going to be if he can stay healthy when he's 27, 28.
Yeah. Just got to keep him on the field.
One ball, no strikes for Jace Peterson, who has been hit by a pitch and was out on a bunt attempt. This one skied foul ground. Machado will give chase. And out of play. Don't know if there'll ever be another Oriole third baseman as great as Brooks Robinson. And then, of course, late in his career, Cal Ripken Jr.
Think about their succession, though. From a Hall of Famer like Robinson to a really good third baseman, Doug DeCinza. He was really good, could really pick it. Unfortunately for him, he didn't get a lot of credit because he followed Brooks. And then Cal moved from short to third. So they've had their share of guys over there picking it.
And on cue, Machado to his left. Throws on the run. Easy play, easy inning. Ubaldo Jimenez is in a groove. He has not given up a hit to the Braves since the first inning. Original entrance music here at the ballpark. And as we promised you earlier in the game, we've selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag South Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast. That's brought to you by T-Mobile.
War Eagle 424.
You know, Jim Lovell loves that photo.
You know he does.
Yeah, they're playing Dancing Queen before the Orioles come up here in the home sixth.
John's first entrance into Turner Field as a reliever.
I wasn't there. I'd pay almost anything to have been. What was his reaction? Did he even know that it was playing?
Oh, yes, he did.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He heard it all the way in.
1 ball, 1 strike. He's got his bobblehead night coming up at the ballpark. Maybe they can play that for him when he throws out a ceremonial first pitch, if he's so invited or inclined. That would be great. Detweiler just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of games before John got his ultimate run in music, which was "Baby I'ma Love You" by Bread.
To third, and Garcia can't handle it. Machado at first to start the 6th inning.
That'll be an E5 there for Adonis. Let that hop play him. There should be an error. And it is an error.
So Paredes is the batter. He'll turn around and hit right-handed. He was 0 for 2 lefty with a walk and a run scored. Outside. Ball 1. Tipton caught, even count. 1 ball, 1 strike. Miami's winning 3-1 over the Nationals. The Mets at last report were winning 2-0 over the Padres. If those scores hold, there'll be a 1-game gap between first and second in the National League East. And I'm told the Mets and Nationals play this weekend. That'd be fun. Two balls and a strike. Instead the first. And it is 2-0 Mets, bottom of the 8th inning. Reds and Cardinals, no score, top of the 5th. Rockies 4-1 over the Cubs. Boy, the Cubs have really stubbed their toe in the second half.
Yeah, the Rockies got 4 in the first with no Tulowitzki today.
I wonder if Cargo did anything spectacular for Colorado. He is dancing Bobcat hot right now.
Yeah, it was Arenado. Arenado hit a 2-run double as part of that first. He's not bad.
Three balls, 1 strike. Oh. Ow, right off Detweiler's body. Let's hope he's all right. Jeff Porter, Freddie Gonzalez are out. You know that had to sting. Even with 1 hop, that was really hard hit.
Left leg. Hopefully it missed the knee. Right off just below the knee. Andrew
McKirahan begins to loosen up. Detweiler will get a couple of tosses just to get some feeling in the leg again. Braves don't need another injury to a left-handed pitcher. We found out earlier today that Manny Banuelos's pitching elbow is sore. He's been sent back for an exam in Atlanta. And David Carpenter was brought up from Gwinnett today.
Yeah, that was disturbing news about Manny. Hope it was just a little tenderness and nothing more. So David Carpenter was up earlier, and I like what I saw of him.
Have a look at the bouncing ball.
Maybe the lower leg, maybe not quite on the knee.
So we don't know who's starting game 3 here tomorrow. For the Braves, that is. Chris Tillman's going to pitch for the Orioles. Adam Jones, 2 on and none out. 6 runs, 8 hits for the Orioles. Chris Davis, a 2-homer, 5 RBI night. And he's waiting on deck. Bouncing ball, fair. That kissed the chalk, and it's headed for the right field corner. Machado scores. Paredes stops at third. It's a double for Adam Jones, and it's 7-2 Orioles.
He did that last night. He served one to right field, taking a little bit off his swing. Off the plate, probably a ball. Just slowed his swing down a little bit though and hit it the other way, and good results. Things are going the way of the O's tonight.
That's the end of the line for Ross Detweiler. An inning plus. He's given up a couple of runs. The run here unearned, but it's the 7th of the night for the Orioles. McCarahan on for Atlanta. We'll tell you about Andrew when we come back.
Presented by the Georgia Lottery and Lexus.
(7-2) Orioles. Runners second and third now with nobody out. Andrew McCarahan, the third pitcher of the night for the Braves.
6 games since he came back. I like the life on his fastball. I think the more he pitches, the better he's going to be able to contribute, the more responsibility Freddie Gonzalez will give him. Good low 90s fastball and breaking ball.
And a big test here with Chris Davis. And the first pitch bounced toward Jace Peterson. No advance. There's a good start. 1 pitch, 1 out. Travis Snyder has singled. He is tapped back to the mound, and he's been hit by a pitch. The live fastball has him behind 0-1. Right there and taken for a perfect strike. 4-2. The Braves bullpen this month. A .365 earned run average after a very rocky April and May. June and July has been much more effective for the Atlanta relief corps. 2 quick outs. Snyder strikes out.
Nice job coming in throwing strikes. Get a ground out from the home run hitter, and then quick work of Snyder. All fastballs too.
I know you've said a million times that pitch looks so hittable, but time after time you see a hitter not able to catch up to it.
It's high level. You can see it real well.
J.J. Hardy extended his hitting streak to 11 games and scored the 6th Oriole run. That was back in the 5th inning. This series showcasing the 2 best defensive shortstops by fielding percentage in Major League Baseball. Hardy for the Orioles, Andrelton Simmons for the Braves. Neither shortstop has really been tested with difficult plays.
Hardy more so than Simmons, though.
1 ball, 1 strike.
The Brewers traded him to Milwaukee. He kind of disappeared from view for a while. Traded him to Minnesota. Didn't see or hear much of him until he came to Baltimore and got it going again.
You could make the case, as I think you have a couple of times, between Machado and Hardy. That might be one of the best left side defensive infields, not just in the American League, but maybe in baseball. There's only 39 errors as a team this year. One ball, 2 strikes. Popped him up. Well, this will be an impressive bit of work by McCurahan. Simmons charges in, and Garcia greets him, but Andrelton makes the play. He was hollering, "Yo la tengo!" He had it. And it's 7-2 going to the 7th. After the Braves take on the Marlins next Thursday, August 6th, for a free post-game concert brought to you by Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines. Get your tickets now online at Braves.com. Running out of time in Baltimore. The Braves have 9 outs left. They're down 5 runs, and Ubaldo Jimenez hasn't given up a hit since the first inning. A frame that saw him give up 2 runs on 4 hits. One ball, 2 strikes. And Chris went around, couldn't stop his swing. He's 0 for 3, has struck out twice. And Ubaldo Jimenez has 3 in total tonight.
Which is really a low number for him. He came in with 105 strikeouts and 106 in the 3rd innings, 1 an inning. Tonight, just 3, but he's been very effective since the 1st inning.
He gets about 5 runs a game of support. And it looked really bleak for him after he saw 8 Braves hitters parade to the plate in the 1st inning. One ball, 1 strike for Anderson Simmons, who's been walked twice. And 2. Pitch number 100 missed low. 2-2. Toward Jones in center. He's got that. 2 down.
Really like the way Anderson's swinging the bat. He is hitting a lot of line drives.
And a nice cheer for Nick, who has singled and scored. Good news down on the farm last night. Terrell Jenkins, 8 innings for AAA Gwinnett. 2 hits, 5 strikeouts. Terrell Jenkins has a 15-inning scoreless streak.
Good for him.
Christian Bethancourt, 3 doubles and an RBI.
That's good news too.
It's my understanding that either Williams Perez or Mike Fultonevich were scheduled to pitch for Gwinnett today or tomorrow. Don't know if those guys are in consideration for the start here in Baltimore or not. Well, it certainly seemed logical to think about. Perez has pitched very good baseball in his rehab stint.
Yeah, he was really on top of things when he got hit with that line drive in Pittsburgh.
And Markakis walks with 2 outs. And that'll bring up Cameron Maben. Josh Outman had an inning of scoreless relief for the Carolina Mudcats. Brandon Barker gave up 1 run over his first 5 innings. Ended the night with 4 runs in 7 innings for the High A club. Mississippi had a day off yesterday. And Maben bounces toward short. And that will end the inning. We go to the 7th inning stretch. All Baltimore after a shaky first inning by Ubaldo Jimenez. pitch out of first inning trouble. He's in line for his 6th home victory in 7 decisions this year, and his 8th win overall, barring a big comeback by the Braves in Game 2 tonight. Baltimore's up for the home 7th, lower 3rd of their order is coming up. Adam Jones has 181 career homers with the Orioles. That's 8th best in their franchise's history. Our AT&T Universe question is, who has the most?
I'm sticking with Cal Jr.
Cal Jr. I'll go Eddie Murray. It is Cal Ripken Jr. 431 career homers. Callahan out for a 2nd inning. What a job he did. 2nd and 3rd, and nobody out. Ground out, strikeout, pop out to shut down the Orioles. Toronto allowed 5 runs in 4 innings. Tutwiler 2 runs, only 1 of them earned in his inning plus. Now McCarrahan goes to work in the 7th.
He's looked good against these lefties.
Ooh. Good cut, foul back. It's 1-2. Strike 3 called. His 2nd strikeout. Well, we saw Alex Wood really carve up this Baltimore offense. Alex Wood had arguably his best performance in the Braves starting rotation last night. Mechanical change, he said, and a little different foot positioning. He's working more on the first base side of the rubber. He thought that was key to his outing last night. 7 strikeouts, 3 hits over 7 innings and a 3rd. It's good for Alex.
I know he's brilliant.
Perfect night for Caleb Joseph. 2 walks and an RBI single. Fans do their Oreos chant. Joseph digs in here in the 7th. Both bullpens are busy. AJ came up out of his crouch. He thought that was strike 3, and so did McCarrahan. Zone's been a little tight tonight. Was this a strike? Oh, good grief. It's tough enough to get 3, but a 4th strike is what McCarrahan needs here in the 7th. $28,592 is the paid crowd in Baltimore this evening. And there's strikeout number 3 and strike number 4.
Yeah,
for Caleb Joseph. 2 outs.
Again, like I said about McCarrahan, he's got a live fastball. He's using it, mixing in his breaking ball, but it's all off the fastball. And he's doing this despite the fact that it appears that he's wearing wedges. Remember those shoes that like he had?
Yes. Like flip-flop wedges?
Yeah.
I know all about wedgies.
Yeah,
wedges,
you sure do.
Wedges, I'm not so sure about.
With a good breaking ball.
Big league footwear sure has changed in 30 years, hasn't it? 0-2. How to play foul.
I'm loving his tonight. They got a lot of strikes in them.
Yeah. 0-2. Soft fly ball to left. Johnny G is under it. And he's got it. And McKira had 2 very impressive innings in relief. Nice job, kid. This game moves to the 8th. Spots for the Braves tonight. Freddie Freeman's Toyota key play of the game is one of them.
Yeah, it took a while to actually get recorded as a home run. It bounced off that steel framework, raced around for a triple, and then after review, determined that it had cleared the padding. His first home run since coming back from the DL.
For fans who didn't catch our early innings tonight, you talked about something Freddie was concentrating on in the video room last night about how his swing was working. What was that, and what did you see that was improving?
That he was getting his hands away from his body and kind of dragging the bat through the zone, as opposed to keeping his hands inside the baseball like he did on that home run and on the deep fly that he hit to left his next at bat. And a lot of that is almost to be expected from a guy who comes back from the DL.
That ball's down the right field line, and it's just foul.
Because it's hard to trust your hands. You're trying to generate bat speed and let everything else work instead of your hands. So he noticed it right away.
And not just from a layoff perspective, but I'm sure. How's my wrist feel? Is it going to start hurting again?
Yeah, got to trust that too.
So his 13th homer, his 42nd and 43rd RBI. And he'll face Brian Mattis, part of a terrific Baltimore bullpen. As we told you, dating back to the latter days of April, they have the best bullpen ERA in baseball. And Mattis has his first out on a fly ball to left. Freddie's 1 for 4, and here's Adonis Garcia. Great thing about baseball, we always sell hope. And for Baltimore, despite a big deficit in the East, they're still very much alive as far as the wild card is concerned in the American League. They've made no secret about their hope to get another impact bat. Who that'll be, if anyone, remains to be seen. But Dan Duquette and Buck Showalter were talking on the field during Orioles batting practice today. This is game number 99 for the Orioles. They've got 63 games left. That is an eternity. And you saw this team firsthand last year in postseason play. You saw how crazy these fans were in postseason play.
Amazing.
Don't put anything past that guy when it comes to staying the course and getting close to playoffs. That one's into center field. That's the first Braves hit since the first inning, believe it or not. Garcia, a 1 for 4 night. What was it like?
They were big time underdogs to the big bad Detroit Tigers, and they're starting rotation of Scherzer, Verlander, and Price, and Baltimore swept them. And they did it beating those guys with real good fundamental ABC baseball. There wasn't a ton of homers hit, but every time they got an opportunity to put a run on the board against that good pitching staff, they did it and got a huge clutch double. I think it was a bases loaded double from Delman Young in Game 2. But they played excellent baseball.
Fly ball to right. Long run. Davis still going. Leaps and he makes the grab. Now his throw back to first is going to be close, but not in time. It looked to me like Davis didn't really know where he was, but he made a leaping grab.
Yeah, he wasn't sure if he had any room or not, so he just went for the jump right here and made a nice catch. You know, for a guy that's supposed to be just a DH/first baseman, he's been doing a good job for them in right field. That was a nice play.
And that'll be all for Mattis. 2/3 of an inning with one hit. Chaz Rowe is warming, and he'll be coming in for the Orioles to protect a 7-2 lead. Chris Davis was going to be Crash Davis.
Yeah, he did. AJ with a nice swing on this ball. And at the last second, the jump from Chris Davis. Checked the fence one more time. He thought he was right there. Had a couple more steps, but a nice catch and a nice save.
Our SunTrust save of the game. So a nice catch him right. 2 long homers for Chris Davis. And this is the pride of Lexington, Kentucky, right-hander Chaz Rowe. It has been a long journey for Chaz Rowe to get to Baltimore. Way back when, this young man was a #1 pick of the Rockies. Back in 2005. Got to the big leagues in 2013 with Arizona. Last year, 3 games with the Yankees. Baltimore signed him as a minor league free agent.
Low 90s fastball, slider. What's Chaz short for?
I guess Charles, but it doesn't say.
It doesn't. Maybe short for like Chasley.
Could be.
Chasman.
Broken bat pop. Hardy out and a diving try. Snyder. He couldn't hang on. Now the throw to third and in safely is Garcia. So a bloop hit on a broken bat by Johnny Gomes, and the Braves have runners at first and third.
Little bloop. And a good read there by Adonis. Take advantage of being able to get into third base.
So Jace Peterson, a long one here makes it an interesting game. Right
Sure
now,
does.
Braves are down 5. Home run here makes it a 2-run game in this part.
Makes that catch by Davis all the more big.
Let's say the run, at least to this point. And it's Buck Showalter pondering. Is he suggesting that that ball was on a tag at third? Did he come off the bag?
If he did, the tag wasn't still on him. Good hustle by Angel. Way to get down the line, Angel. Cleared up. No appeal.
He gives the best home run signal on replay that I've ever seen.
Without even taking his headset off.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He lets everybody know.
I was afraid he was going to forget he had the headsets on and take off running. Clotheslining.
1 ball, no strikes. This is 0 for 2, hit by a pitch as well, and that's in for a strike. 1-1 your count. Chaz Rowe, 6'5", rail thin, 190 pounds. No kid, he's 28. Out of Lafayette High School in Lexington, Kentucky. And now he's ahead, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Watch Jace's upper body. That one wasn't quite as bad, and in fact it was a breaking ball. But sometimes my personal opinion is that he lets that upper body drift forward when he strides. His body goes with him and it slows everything down. He's almost got to put that brick wall against his right shoulder and keep from getting out there fast.
A shot up the middle, a base hit. That'll bring home Garcia. And the Braves have 3 hits in the 8th. It's now a 7-3 game, and Chris Johnson is coming up. So 41 RBIs for Jace Peterson and a much-needed Atlanta hit.
And watch his front shoulder here. Stride, better job of staying back. Still drifted a little bit, but a much better job than he's been doing.
Is that a I'm not trusting my hands?
Yes.
Swing?
Yes. And because I've talked before about how he's got to use the whole field. He tries to pull too much, and sometimes you get in that habit of getting out there so fast there's nothing else left in your swing but to pull the ball.
Ground ball right side, first pitch, ball gloved, and an excellent result for Chaz Rowe.
Oh, we're going to go to break.
Well, if Ubaldo Jimenez could eliminate the first inning, he'd have had a no-hitter against the Braves in the amount of time he was in the game. Braves, though, do have 3 runs, 7 hits, but trail in Game 2 on our Mazda game summary.
Yeah, he settled down beautifully for the Orioles. And tonight it was a battle from the get-go for Julio Teheran, who gave up a single to Machado leading off the game, and then faced 9 hitters in the first inning, and 3 runs came home in that Davis homer.
So David Aardsma joins the fray. He's the 4th Braves pitcher of the night. Teheran, Detweiler, McCurahan, who was brilliant, and now Aardsma for the 8th. First pitch swing popped up. Freeman on a sprint. Foul ground. Slowing, turning, and gloving. 1 out.
I thought McCurahan was terrific. 2 innings, retired all 6 batters he faced with 3 strikeouts.
And remember, he came in, he had runners second and third with nobody out, and Baltimore couldn't get the ball out of the infield against him. That was very impressive.
4 of those hitters were left-handed.
Switch hitter Jimmy Paredes is up. He's walked, scored, and has an infield hit. And Aardsma pumps over a strike. And I made the point earlier tonight. You look for incremental improvement from a team that's going through what the Braves are. And there's a liner caught by Freeman at first. 2 good plays by the Braves first baseman. The good crowd appreciates his effort.
Way to get up, Freddie. Used every bit of his 6'5" there. I love it when you see other infielders, like he's jumping. Jason's kind of hopping. Other guys are jumping, trying to help you.
2 quick outs for Adam Jones. April and May, the Braves gave up 20 homers and 133 hits. June and July combined, giving up 12 homers. 154 hits. But the ERA in those 2 months over a run better than April and May. A lot of interchangeable parts, a lot of different names out there. Veterans have been brought in, and they've, by and large, really helped stabilize the relief corps.
Yeah, it's just a shame what happened to Jason Grilli, because he was such an important part of all that.
Last call for Atlanta as we head to the 9th.
Atlanta Braves baseball is presented by AT&T Uverse, Delta Airlines, and your local Ford dealer.
Fans, follow the Braves wherever you are with MLB.com. At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or your tablet. Last chance for the Braves. We're in the ninth. It's now 7-3. And Andrelton Simmons faces Chaz Rowe. David Lowe is in left field. Jonathan Scope has checked in at second base. There's a strike. Phillies won tonight. They beat Toronto 3-2. Phillies are 9-1 since the All-Star break. I'm guessing Ken Giles tried to, or did, nail that game down in Toronto.
Yeah, he's been the closer in waiting. He's got 100-mile-an-hour stuff.
So if this score holds, Baltimore will have second place all to themselves in the American League East. The Yankees are in Texas and are bludgeoning the Rangers. They've got a double-digit offensive night tonight. Way outside, 3-2. Braves need base runners. Their bullpen is busy just in case Chaz Rowe has problems. He gave up 2 hits to the 3 hitters he faced in the Braves' 8th. Ground ball, Scope. A step to his right. 1 out. Braves fans, we're fewer than 2 weeks away from Alumni Weekend. It's next Friday, August 7th, 8th, and 9th, when the Braves take on the Marlins. Join us at Turner Field Friday for autograph opportunities. Saturday, we have the 6th annual Legends softball game, and the first 20,000 fans who attend will receive a 1995 World Series replica ring. That is going to be a fun weekend, one of the best weekends to be a Braves fan. Hope you'll join us. Get your tickets online at Braves.com. One out for Markakis. Scope can't get that one. And guess what? Nick Markakis has 4 hits in the series. And that'll start the Orioles dugout pacing just a bit. Zach Britton is up and throwing in the bullpen. And Cameron Maybin is the batter. If he reaches, almost certainly you'd see Britton face Freddie Freeman. There's the man on deck. Braves had 4 hits in the first inning, none in innings 2 through 7. They got 3 in the 8th, 1 here in the 9th. Strike 1. Miami did beat Washington 4-1. The Mets beat the Padres 4-0. Gap in the National League East, 1 game. Strike 2.
Good sweeper breaking ball from Rowe. Made a good pitch with it to Andrelton, and there's another good one.
Yankees are leading Texas 15-5, Joe. That's in the 3rd inning.
Oh, my.
Note on that game, Texas Rangers pitchers needed 108 pitches to record 9 outs.
Good grief.
It's a long night in Arlington tonight. Bouncing ball, Scope's got it. Second for 1. Hardy to turn, late. Maybin hustles again to keep the game alive, and that'll bring Freddie Freeman to the plate. Markakis forced. Braves are down to their last out.
He knew there was a chance that they would turn a double play here. See it in front of him, but I think Cameron really benefited from the All-Star break with that upper thigh thing that was bothering him, because he seems to be running a whole lot better.
So Freeman can hit one to Bethesda, Maryland, and Baltimore would still lead. It's a 7-3 game. Long opposite field homer for Freddie in the first. Things looked great for Atlanta in the top of the inning. But Julio had a rough night in Baltimore. And that just missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. One more note on pitching count. Noah Syndergaard threw 107 pitches in 8 innings tonight for the Mets.
Nice comparison.
One and two. And that's your ball game. The Orioles have won the series. They win game 2 by a final score of 7-3. Chris Davis, a mammoth first 2 innings, a pair of home runs. First inning, a 3-run shot, a 2-run blast in the second. And the Baltimore Orioles are back above 500 with their 50th victory of the season. 7-3 is tonight's final. Joe and I will be back to Oriole Park at Camden Yards to recap it for you right after this.